Hi, this is Rose Kun, and today we have Ade. Ade is a certified trained breathwork practitioner, men's work facilitator, and financial advisor. He's dedicated to guiding you towards a holistic personal growth and financial empowerment. Welcome. How are you today?
Hello, hello. Thank you for the warm welcome, Rose. I am well. It's Monday. It's gloomy here in Chicago, but I'm grateful to be present with you.
Nice. So how me and Ade met is when, well, I didn't really meet you, but we joined Samson's breathwork um breathwork class.
Yes.
And that is where I discovered you. And so this is just from Instagram of, I
hmm
don't know, I seen you on his maybe story and added you as a friend, and here we are now.
Yeah, it's funny how, we end up meeting folks online and now virtual in a session like this, a podcast space. Still haven't met in person, but really looking forward to the day that we do.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I grew up here in Chicago, born and raised. My dad is actually Nigerian, and he met my mother here in Chicago. She's from the west side of Chicago, A-Town. They met at Malcolm X College. Um, a little bit more about me in a Nigerian household, you literally have three options. Become a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. I chose the engineering route. And to be honest, I ended up getting burnt out working as an engineer. It just didn't fit my style of work. It also wasn't something that I was necessarily still passionate about. At a young age, I was, but I think it was more so because of my father's enthusiasm about it, which is not a problem, nothing against pops. But as I've grown, I just found myself finding different things that interested me, like health and wellness, got involved in breath work, men's coaching. And this is really like the place and space that I feel is very much aligned. Outside of professional life, I love playing basketball. I love cycling. I also like to stay active and fit. I have two young boys, so just trying to make sure that my body is taken care of so I can be available to run around and do all the things with them is important to me. I'm a family man. Recently consciously uncoupled, so single, but still have very much an affinity and love for my previous partner, and we're co-parenting very well. Um, what else is about me? I love trying food. I'm a big foodie, and I love to travel. And if you can't catch me doing any of those things, I'm probably in a forest or next to a body of water somewhere.
Actually, did you go to Peru recently?
I was actually in
Or
Ecuador.
oh, Ecuador. That's right.
Yes,
What
yes.
a adventure there. You're backpacking and in like the jungle or the
Yeah, it
forest.
was. We were literally in the Amazon rainforest, and just a crazy like statistic that I learned after coming back, only 99% of people ever make it into the Amazon jungle. And so that was just a profound experience. I went down there to do some men's work, and almost like a full immersion. We were down there for 10 days. Majority of it was without cell phone service, completely disconnected. So it was almost in a way like a rites of passage, you would call it, because we were out there. I mean, there was food and drink and water and everything, but we were out there with, completely disconnected from family, completely disconnected from home, living with the Shipopo people and the tribe out there. And it was just a profound experience. Got a chance to do a bunch of men's work, ritual baths, really learning about the culture, hiking through the jungle, for 4 hours at a time, learning about different plant medicines that we could utilize and use in our daily practice. And it was one of the best trips of my life, honestly speaking. I'm actually feeling called to go back this year, so we'll see how that's going to come about. But looking forward to going back for sure.
Yeah. So what led you to a men's group? Like
Mm.
what was your first men's group and what led you to it?
Yeah, similar to how we met, honestly speaking, through Instagram. I met a brother named Jose Alejandro, who is still my coach today. And him and his partner Voy have a men's circle called the Modern Renaissance Man. And it was like at a time in my life where it was a little bit of a threshold. I was working on building up my emotional intelligence, my capacity to hold space, um, and really just in a season where they say if your coach doesn't have a coach, like you should probably get another coach. Like I was becoming a financial advisor, doing all the things, doing the work. And I found myself like, who do I talk to about the stuff that I have going on? And so at that point, I just, I was praying one night, like, man, I just want to meet some brothers who are of the same mindset of me, who are willing to dig deep and do the work. And he just happened to come across my feed online, and we did a discovery call and immediately hit it off. Like I felt like I had known him for years. Those people that you can just like have a conversation with, and you're like, man, I feel like I know you. That was him, and he kind of, basically took me under his wing, invited me to join the men's group, and it's been history ever since then. It's going on a year and a half's time now. I'm actually a part of the leadership of MRM just from showing up so consistently, and it's been a blessing in my life, honestly speaking. I don't know where I would be without it. And I encourage any man and every man to find, even if it's not the homies or your brothers or cousins, find a group of men who are committed to holding you accountable, calling you forward, because it's definitely been a game changer for me.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And yeah, like how do you find a men's group like for men out there?
Yeah. Um, you know what? When I first was thinking about the idea,
Mhm.
and I think this happens to most of us guys, is like we don't want to voice a need. So I never said anything about it until I started asking around, searching online, Google. Um, the universe just works in mysterious ways, and it starts to align you with the right people and the right places and the right things. And that's honestly what happened. I couldn't tell you where to look. I can just say if you are somewhere in a big in a city or a small town, maybe even just see what's out there online. There's a bunch of free events here in Chicago that different organizations hold and run, or just go on Instagram, go on Facebook. There's so many different things in terms of community nowadays. I think it's easy to find, and you just kind of have to try them out until you find one that aligns with you. I went on Instagram and saw a bunch of different accounts, chatted with a couple of different people, and then I just found one that was aligned for me.
Yeah. And so what led you to like your like being more conscious?
Mm.
What was it that was the breaking
Oh
ground
man.
for you?
Yeah. If I'm being completely honest, it was relationship troubles.
Mm.
Um, and I won't even call them troubles. I'll take that word back. I would just say just areas of awareness that started to come up for myself and my partner at the time. We went to an event called Awaken with Danny Morell,
Mhm.
and that event just kind of opened up. That was actually the first time I did breath work. That was 3.5, almost 4 years ago. That was my first experience with breath work. And that experience with breath work just opened up a bunch of different layers of the onion, as they say, that I had never peeled back, that I had never got a chance to take a look at, or see myself in that light. Things like stuff that I was repressing, suppressing, not wanting to feel as a man. A lot of us, we just tend to carry the weight on our shoulders. We have no outlets. We don't want to share with our partners because it's deemed weak, which is not necessarily the case. It's actually one of our biggest strengths. And from that space that I was in, it was like, man, I have to do something different. I can't continue to do the same thing that I've been doing, because I was always reading the books, listening to the podcasts, going to the seminars and whatnot. And there's nothing wrong with those things, but what I found was a lot of them were a top-down approach. So it was all about mindset first. And when I start to get conscious and aware of like my patterns from childhood or things that I hadn't necessarily dealt with, I realized that it was more of an inside job and from the bottom up, as opposed to starting with mindset only. I had to start focusing on, emotional regulation. How am I breathing every day? What's my nutrition like? Am I getting enough sleep? And those things, are some of the things that we like to call our pillars in our men's group. and I know many others as well. But that's kind of how it came about for me, just really being aware and conscious of areas of my life that I was lacking and I wasn't aligned and I wasn't showing up for the people that I supposedly loved, myself included.
Yeah. So do you think that it's a part of it is like kind of healing the inner child?
Ooh. That is a whole conversation. Yes, I firmly believe every one of us, as we go through life, forgets to some degree about our inner child. And the work around inner child, somewhere in there, there's mother and father wounds as well. Not to say that everyone grew up with, horrible parenting situation or missing a parent or anything like that, because both of my parents were in my life, and I'm grateful for both of them to this day. But unconsciously, there are things from childhood that are quote unquote story that we tell ourselves on a day-to-day basis, that has us showing up in particular ways. And so when you go back and like for me, I had to go back and like at this moment in time, I'm a new dad. I'm fathering two boys. My dad is obviously still in my life. And so I just found myself seeing my younger versions of myself in my sons. And so doing the inner child work and like fathering my own inner child. Like there's still moments to this day where something will happen and like I can tell the trigger or whatever is coming up, it's from my teenage self or my 7-year-old self or my 3-year-old self. And I have to like literally father myself, like talk to myself or nurture myself, to be able to move through it in the best way possible, as opposed to being reactive, resentful, and taking courses of action that, would be detrimental to myself and others. So,
Yeah, no, I totally relate, especially like a 17-year-old girl with, coming home with like just you saying want something to her, and
mhm,
then attitude comes back. And for me,
yeah,
it's right there. It's like, oh, it's hitting me. Like,
yeah,
where is this attitude coming from? So it's like looking within myself. It's like,
mhm,
what is it, Rosie, that is that's bothering you,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
really do have to like sit back and just like take a deep breath,
mhm,
like there's turmoil going in, like I don't know what it is, and I'm not trying to like react and like have attitude back to her, to just like, okay, it's okay, like I learned how to really like calm myself down and just be chill, like, all right, she's going through something, I don't know what it is, just let her,
yeah,
just give her like some space to just, free to
right.
have your attitude here, as long as you're not, saying mean things to your sister, like it's okay.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
well, for honoring you, as a mother of a teenage daughter, I saw my mom and my sister go through those times. So I know what it's like. But just honoring you for that, because again, taking a pause, like, why is this coming up for me? And not, because you could always just give back whatever you're receiving from someone. Like, oh, they want to come with anger and fiery, well, I'm just going to give the same thing back. Well, that doesn't cancel it out. It just makes it 10 times bigger. So like for you to give the space and allow her to be a human being, which is what a lot of us, well, I'll speak for myself. I wasn't allowed in some instances to be a human being or express myself much with my parents. Not in a bad way or anything like that, but just I know I wasn't vocalizing what was going on with me. And so just honoring you as a mother, just allowing her to have that space, because it takes patience, it takes practice. We don't get it right all the time as parents. But yeah, just wanted to share that reflection.
Yes, and that is true. We don't get it right all the time as parenting. We will fuck things up. And
Facts.
it's learning to apologize after if you do say something mean or harsh, like, oh, that was a little,
Yeah.
like unconsciously, like really in a, for me, is working on my tone. Because my
Hmm.
daughter says, you're always yelling. I'm like, yeah, because you're upstairs and it's dinner time. So it's like, dinner's ready.
Yeah.
But there's
Yeah.
other things too that your kids will kind of say. And it's
Hmm.
kind of really like, are you open to hearing what they're saying to you? You know?
Right. Right.
So as a
Yep.
mom here, I have to work on my tone of voice of how I deliver things, and even to my husband too, you know? And for him is like learning that with, the relationship that for me is voicing like, hey, sometimes I don't, if I'm telling you something, I don't want solutions because they're always,
Mm,
men always
yes.
to try, try to
Yes,
solve
we
your
do.
problems. And
Mhm.
then also he has to learn now, he has two girls, um, to learn about his own kids. Like, okay, remember, they don't want solutions. Okay. Just hear them out. Just hear them out.
Mhm.
And it's a learning process.
It is. It is. That's a big thing, honestly. A big realization that I had. Even within my first breathwork session, just to like bring it back to my first experience with breathwork, I had so much tetany and like for those who don't know, tetany is like you're tingling in your hands and like alligator arms where your fists clench up. I had so much of that after the session. Like the medicine for me was like, you don't have to have it all figured out.
Mm.
Don't have to have control over everything. It's okay to not know. It's okay to not figure everything out. And that had been a theme in my life, even in my past relationship. To your point, with your husband, it's like a lot of times the partner, the wife, girlfriend, feminine energy, they just want to feel heard and they want to be seen. And us as men, we go straight to like, oh, well, you need to fix this and fix that, and like completely gloss over the fact that, hey, she was just trying to express something to you, most of the time just to get it off of her own plate. And so you can like hold the container and the space for her to be able to do that. And I wasn't doing that in my last relationship. Like, I'll be honest with you. And that was part of some of the things that had come up. Um, but it's big. It's big just to be able to allow someone to express what's coming up for them and not have to come back with, oh, XYZ, you should do this, this is that, and the third, because it doesn't have to be that way. And typically that's not what what she wants to hear.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a learning experience because it's like learning how to forgive your partner. And with forgiveness, you have to forgive your partner over and over and over again. And it's learning to, as for me, I've been with my husband for almost 19 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been together for 19 years. We got married 2019. So we just got married 3 years ago.
Hmm.
So but that's a lot of work.
That is a lot of work.
Oh,
We'll
I'm
snap
telling
it up for
you.
you both. Almost 20 years.
Yeah, just say a lot of
Beautiful.
forgiveness, a lot of just like, there's a lot of, you know, in being with somebody for 19 years, both of you somehow in the relationship will build up resentment. Maybe not all, but I did and he did. And is learning how to really let go of that resentment. I was holding this resentment for a while. And one day I was like, what am I doing to myself?
Mhm.
It was with breath work. With the help
Mm,
of breath work, I
mhm.
was able to release whatever was stored in me
Wow.
and letting and melting this energy away.
Hmm.
And he had to do his own work,
Hmm.
however, he did it to melt that energy away too. But it really takes two people that's not going to give up on each other and that's working on your themselves or ourselves
Yes,
to move and grow in this relationship. And
absolutely.
it's not easy. It's work.
Mhm.
It's the work that you do inside that you don't express sometimes. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but okay, now coming back to breath work.
Yes.
What led you to, you said your first time you did breath work, you had tetany.
Hmm.
Did you have a breakthrough your first time doing breath work?
I did. Aside from the realization that I had been living life like from this, like I need to have it figured out in
Mm-hmm.
controlled space, what also came up for me was I wasn't living my life truly and authentically to who I am at my core. I was living under, I mean, we could really go deep, like the paradigms of what society has us programmed to do, if I can speak on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, from, growing up as a Nigerian American Black individual here in Chicago, going to school in the suburbs and being like one of, I don't know, 20 or 25 Black kids in my school at the time or my class at the time. It was almost like I had to remove all of the masks that I used to wear just to like fit. And like that breath work opened it up for me. I'm not saying all of what I'm saying right now came through, but it really like scratched the surface of like, yeah, like this isn't the real version of you. We
Mm.
need to find who that is. We need to figure out who that is. Um, and that first breathwork session was like what was like the tip of the iceberg, which what got me on this huge binge of like really doing the work. Like I had done, like I said earlier, the mindset things and business masteries and reading the books and doing the podcast, but I never really started doing the internal work to be able to find my true authentic self. And I can happily say that here I am now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And where are you now at your place in life right now?
Yeah, currently in life, man, it's been, I mean, life is a journey. Life is a ride. I'm currently in a space where one side of life has been crumbling down, but within that, there's also this duality. Another side of life is like elevating drastically. And I don't say crumbling down in a bad way. What I do mean by that is life, and I feel like for all of us as humans, will give us challenges, tests, trials, tribulations, not to like give us a knockout punch and have us stay on the ground. But it does ground us and humble us and place us on the mat so we can move forward and look up to what we can become. So like as I was down and out, I'm starting to realize what the true potentials are. And within that, learning different ways of being so that I could step into what this new season of life is calling for. Because where I'm at currently, like I wouldn't be navigating it as well as I am now had I not sat with all of the shit I had to sit with in order to get here. So like I feel like there's always the test, but it's for a testimony. Like the story's already written, and a lot of times, like going back to like needing control, like when all of this first happened, like the conscious uncoupling and getting a divorce and not being with the person I still love to this day. um my initial reaction was, oh, woe is me. Like, what's happening? Like, this isn't what I planned. Like, going back to like control, control. And then it wasn't until I finally just like, all right, this is what life has for us right now. Like, how can we still be loving and caring to one another and supportive and communicate well? And we have two boys and make sure that they're taken care of. Had I stayed stuck there, like we wouldn't be where we are today. I wouldn't be where I am today. I'd still be stuck in a soul-sucking engineering career. No offense to any engineers, but it just got draining and taxing for me. And now calling in opportunities and finding alignment within community and meeting wonderful people like yourself. So, I'd say this to anyone who's in that space where they feel like nothing is working, everything is happening to them and not for them. Just be present with what you need to be present with. Sit with the emotions, the feelings, allow, like, especially us men, allow yourself to feel. And then on the other side of that, there's so much more, but it's literally waiting for you to just do the work and be with what you need to be with so you can get to where you need to be.
Mm. Why is it hard for men to, because I know that men, they don't really like express their emotions.
Big time, big time.
What do you know why is that?
Yeah, I won't generalize it. I will say that for me and other men in my circle, um, and maybe I will say a generalization. Like I feel like, and I don't want to call us minorities because we're not. We're actually majorities, but like individuals like myself, yourself, with the men in these communities, Black, Latino, Filipino, Cambodian, these communities, I feel like the messaging that we always got from our fathers and our grandfathers is, you know, don't cry, or it's weak to cry, or you're wrong to cry or express yourself, especially to a woman or especially to the woman that you love, because it's going to be used against you. I heard that so often and so frequent, and the men that I work with, down to like the men's circles that I attend myself, it's such a common thread that it's no wonder why we find it a hard time expressing our emotions, because it's how we were kind of trained in a sense. And that came from, not to say our fathers were wrong, because their fathers told them the same thing. And so like at this point in time, I feel like for men now is like a chance and an opportunity to like break that cycle. I'm not saying be an emotional wreck. Like we
Yeah.
still have to have our stuff together and be able to hold a container for the household, but there does need to be a moment where you can like, take the shield, like put the shield down, like take the mask off. We typically compartmentalize everything, and I'm sure you're familiar, like it gets stored in the body. The body keeps the score. If we're not letting it out and releasing it some way, then it ends up as dis-ease. And why do men, partners, men who are partner, why do they pass sooner than their wives do? Is because they don't express. Therapy, I don't need therapy. You want to go to the men's circle? No, I don't want to go. Let's go to the bar. It's yeah, I could go on and on, but we'll leave it.
Yeah.
We'll leave
And
it
so
there.
how do you create a space where, men comes to this men's circle or men's group, and then how do you make them feel safe to open up like emotionally and like show vulnerability?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing with men, and for me, when I had my first experience, and I think this is why I'm still around the men's group that I'm in, the Modern Renaissance Man, um, there were rules of engagement. There were boundaries and standards that each man in the space had to uphold and had to agree to before we got any of those sessions started. So we typically begin with saying like, hey, this is a safe container. This is a container that nothing that's said here will be taken outside of these walls. You have to ask the other man permission if something resonates and you feel like you would like to share it. We also speak in I statements and brevity. So we're always speaking about like empowering conversations, like empowering ourselves using the word I as opposed to, hey, you remember that one time we went to the men's group circle and da 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 da. No, it's I went to the men's group circle. This was my experience. We also remove the mask and we invite men to be their true, authentic selves. One of the ground rules is no judgment. Um, and so with those ground rules, that kind of like sets the space, and men are like, okay, like I can fully be me, and this isn't going to be taken out of context or taken anywhere else. And then another thing, like to get into more of like how we're able to kind of hold that container, the way that we do things is like for example, like if I run an event here in Chicago, there's a Saturday men's circle, every men's meetup every Saturday. We start with some movement. Why? Because typically men are perfectly fine with working out. We like the camaraderie, we like the competition around like going to the gym. So we start with some light movement, whether it be yoga or we're doing push-ups, sit-ups, burpees, and squats, no, not weighted. It's just something to get the blood moving, to kind of like break down the walls of the men who come to the space. And then we'll go into a breath work practice, 30 or 40 minutes. And then after that, we'll do like 30 to 45 minutes of like real conversation. And there's different tools in that conversation. We do hot seat coaching. Sometimes we just open up the space for men to share. We pair men together, or if there's larger groups, we put them in triples. And we have different prompts and journal things that we kind of lead and guide them through. But in those spaces, I've really gained solid brothers, and I've seen so much transformation in men and just allowing to be fully expressed and fully embodied. So it's been a beautiful experience for me because I don't come from seeing that happen in a Nigerian household, especially.
Yeah, yeah, because I don't see that I don't see much of that in even like the Cambodian community.
Mhm.
Like my brothers can benefit from,
Yeah, yeah,
having like a men's circle that you're able to just like um just let it all go without any judgment.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's been it's been healing for me. Honestly, like since I started, I have not missed a Thursday. We meet every Thursday. and I haven't missed maybe once in the last year and a half, but it's like my medicine for the week. It's like my church for the week.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And because we have this thing where like every Sunday we do my father-in-law get us a portable sauna. So
Mm,
every Sunday we do um little movement, little workout, sometimes breath work or meditation.
beautiful.
And then we hit the sauna. And usually it's like my husband and like two or three other men in there, and
Mhm.
they just it's like a therapy, like Sunday's church,
Yeah,
where they're
yeah,
just, unloading whatever they're going
exactly.
through.
Yeah, whatever the week brought on.
Yeah.
Like as you were saying that, this just came to me because like when you think about, you know, because a lot of us, our cultures grew up like tribal, right?
Yes.
Like men had spaces to be men and share, and they sat around fires and they did rites of passages. Like in today's society, like there's no rites of passages. So I feel like, and this could be controversial, like I'm sure it will be, but I feel like there's a lot of men walking around little boys in men's bodies because we haven't been initiated. And I'm speaking about myself as well. Like there was a season of my life, like up until I'm 34 now, and until my 30s, like I can honestly look at who I was throughout my 20s. Like I was still a kid, like I was still, a boy. Until I started getting around other men, elders, learning from folks who have been around the block, who have done their own work, and now they're passing on the wisdom and the knowledge. Like we just don't have that nowadays. Whereas before, in tribal situations, like that was ingrained. That was a part of the culture. Like at 15 years old, your rites of passage is you go off into the forest or the jungle or wherever you are in the world, and they just drop you off blindfolded. You have to find your way back. That's how you find out, are you good or not? Are you
Whoa.
are you
Yeah.
gonna make it or not? But we
Yeah.
don't have those things nowadays. And I'm not saying like that's what we need to do with our young boys, but I'm saying there does need to be some like initiation, right? Like nowadays it's like, oh, like we're drinking alcohol now. That's my initiation. Or I just started having sex. That's my initiation. This is like boyish initiation into manhood. There's nothing with like structure and ritual and practice to really like take boys and like mold them and give them the values that they need to be solid men. And it like being a part of these groups has been the medicine for me that I needed.
That's powerful. And the way that I just heard you speaking about men molding them and not having like the older guidance, it's like you have two boys.
Yes.
And there's a reason why we have kids, and why I have two girls, why you have two boys. Like you are what you are the role model there. You're showing in action, and instead of speaking it, they see you do the things. Play basketball, you take them to the park, you do breath work, you do the healing work. Like I'm sure you and your co-partner, you guys are both amazing parents. And especially
Yes.
for you two to come together and work together,
Hmm.
that means that you guys had to like squash a lot of stuff
Absolutely.
from the
Absolutely.
relationship and co-parent together.
Hmm.
Yeah. And for the co-parenting, did that happen like easily for you guys to co-parent together, or did it take some work?
Yeah. I mean, I'll start with it is work on a consistent basis. We so our journey was, I would say it's not typical and traditional. Like most situations in Nigerian community, or my ex partner is a Mexican. And so like traditionally when people get separated or divorced, it's like this whole ordeal. People are clashing, you're in divorce court. It's just a big mess, right? And we both sat down and had the conversation like, hey, we genuinely still love, respect, and care about each other enough to not want it to be that. We have two beautiful boys that we were blessed with that we literally were not even supposed to have. Like she was told that she couldn't have children. And so we were blessed with them. Like, we don't want this to be like those situations. So from the beginning of even the conversations around, do we want to stay together or not? Like, that was always a thread. And we just made sure to keep that at the forefront, you know? We didn't, there was no lawyers involved. We had one day in court and it was over with. We were the two of the happiest people in the freaking Zoom room because we were all on Zoom. Everyone's going back and forth and we're just like, can you just call us so we can get out of here, like, and we can
Yeah.
go like celebrate.
Yeah.
uh, we were just very intentional about making sure that we didn't step on either one of each other's toes and that both of us felt safe, comfortable with the whole situation. And it's been great since. And I can honestly say that we communicate better than we ever have the last, 2 or 3 years that we've been kind of like navigating this situation. We still have reverence and respect for each other. We both get to see the boys equally. There's no, if, ands, or buts. Yeah, it's just been beautiful. We still spend time together with them as well. So it's a choice though. It's honestly a choice, and I'm honestly lucky. Like, I'll say I'm blessed that she is of that she has that personality, because it could have very well been much different. Like, she could have threw the whole book at me and be like, figure it out, like, bye. you know you
Yeah.
know
Well,
but she's not that person, and we're not those people, so that's why we are where we're at today.
I love that. I love that. Well, that just brought me back to like my older brother. He had divorced with his wife,
Hmm.
like 17 years ago or something like that. But he was a role model to me because him and his wife divorced, and he started when they were breaking up, whatnot. He brought her flowers and
Mm.
trying to get back with her, and she was like, "It's too late. It's too late." So he
Yeah.
named himself. My name is Too Late because he's too late to buy her flowers. But
Yeah.
whatnot, their relationship showed me that they went over the communications or whatever, because they also had two little boys that they had to raise, and they became like super good friends. you
Yeah.
know she's married now, and he will bring like cooked Cambodian cooked meal to their
Hmm.
house, and he has dinner with his ex-wife and her new
Husband.
husband.
Yeah.
And it's just like, uh, we go to parties, we're all together.
Yeah.
Like, they're all friends, they all hang out with each other, and it just shows me like there's other ways. You don't
Yeah.
have to hate each other. Imagine if you just, he still has a lot of love for her,
Hmm.
and
Absolutely.
the ex-husband is not even like, he's not like a jealous person, or he doesn't see it like that. Like, there's mutual respect for each other,
That's beautiful.
and I love that.
Cool. Yeah, I mean that's like striking a chord with me, because that's, if I'm being honest, it's literally the path that we're on. She's already found someone, and she's happy. And like, I tell her every time I see her, if I feel you off, I'm only asking because I want to make sure you're happy. Like, I just need you to be happy, whether that's with me or not. Like, that's none of my business, but I just want to make sure you're happy. And so, like, to hear the way that your brother navigated that situation is very similar. And I think that's how it should be. It doesn't need to be a back and forth or I'm jealous or this and that. As long as both individuals are happy. Why? Because our kids need to see happy parents and a good example of love. Like, whether
Yes.
that's you two both together or not, they need to see and feel love wherever and everywhere that they're at, whether that's with this new person or with you or when everyone is together. There shouldn't be this, like, the kids are worried about what's going to happen. And that's again, that was part of our conversations, and just commending your brother for navigating that the way that he did, because it's not easy, trust me. Like, there
Yeah.
are there are times where I get boiled up and I want to say something that I know I shouldn't say, or especially in the beginning of it, where I was like still trying to, like, can we figure this out? Can we make it work? But making the, having that common thread from the beginning just has allowed everything to be peaceful. And it sounds like your brother and his ex-partner did the same thing. And that's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
And it role models to his kids. Like I remember his kid was like 17 or 18 years old and had his first girlfriend, and then they broke up. And then he wanted to be friends with her. And she's like, no, I don't want to be friends with you. And he's like, why not? My mom.
Why not?
Because he sees his,
I have a perfect example.
yeah. He didn't get it. He's like, oh, I thought we can be friends.
Mhm. Yeah. And honestly, we're still friends. Like the thing that we've always said to each other is everything still remains. We just remove the romantic piece. Like,
Yeah.
she's also a sound bowl healer. She's doing work in the community similar to I am. I've led her through breathwork sessions. She's done Reiki for me. It's, we're still best of friends. It's just this one piece of the puzzle just didn't line up at the current time. And who knows if it will later in life. But right now, this is what it is. And you just have to let it be as it is and make sure that the kids are the most important thing. As long as they're fine, and our wellness is fine, that's what I care about, and that's
Mm,
what she is too. So
that is so beautiful. You are leading you know, just showing us like more men and more couples out there that this can be another
mhm,
way that you guys can be friends.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. I love that. And so you do breath work, you do
Mhm.
men's group, and then you do also a financial advising.
Yes,
Do you
yes.
combine all three together?
Great question. Shameless plug. I am currently working on the platform to have them all be encompassed in my coaching. So the one thing that I have, and I guess like the motivation and fuel behind it is, coming from an engineering world, like earnings were great. It was a six-figure income, was doing well. Coming into the wellness space as an entrepreneur, as I'm meeting people and connecting in community, it is a common thread that while all of these people are so gifted, so many talents can help and heal and do for the world exactly what the world needs in this current moment of time, it's like there's always this common thread of struggling financially, or like I can, like they say, run up a bag really quick, and then I'm not making any money for 3 to 6 months. And I'm like, robbing Peter to pay Paul and things of that sort. So that was like the main motivation for me, with getting into financial advising in the beginning. It was because I wanted to, help myself and educate myself first and foremost, and my family, but then also like just seeing entrepreneurs in the wellness space, like this combined with coaching, could be a powerful tool because you weave in the men's work. And I'm currently working with men on the coaching side, only, but I can help weave in our coaching themes and the journal prompts and the work that we do. And also one of the pillars in modern Renaissance man is financial well-being, and financial health. And so just being an advisor and being able to weave that in is something that is part of the work, and it's something that I'm working currently on, weaving into my coaching.
I love that. I love that. Okay, I got a few more questions.
Yeah,
What would
ask
you
away. I got time.
tell? Okay, we're gonna go back to what would you tell your younger self, the one that was in trouble, that didn't know where to go, that had so anger that just was lost.
Yeah.
What would you tell
Hmm.
that younger self?
That's a great question. I'm thinking of what's coming to mind is the teenage version of me, and then the version of me in my 20s. So I'll speak to both of those guys because I do meditations, and visualizations quite often, and both of those two show up. So my teenage self, um, I would speak to him in a manner of, pouring in confidence to him, telling him that he is enough, telling him that his worth is not determined on his grades or, his output. And maybe that speaks to my 20-year-old self as well. But yeah, just understanding that your value comes from within, and never to, allow outside validation or approval to be what drives you, because that is what drove me. Not saying it was wrong, right or wrong, right? But I would definitely tell my teenage self, like, hey, like people's perceptives of you, it doesn't matter. Like, be true to yourself, be authentic to yourself. And I'll give you an example. Like in my teens, like people watching this podcast and they see Adetokunbo, they'll be like, "Who is that?" Who've known me then because they know me by Seneric, which was my middle name, and
Mm.
I used Seneric because I thought, oh, my name is too hard to pronounce. Let me just make it easy for them. No, like as soon as I hit, my 30s, I was like, no, everyone's gonna call me by my full name. Like why have I've been going by Generic this my whole life just to like fit a mold and fit a bill and literally shrinking myself, I would tell myself not to shrink myself, to be fully expressed, fully authentic, um, in everything, whether that's work, whether that's relationship, whether that's family, whether that's, desires, pleasures, everything, be fully expressed, be authentically you. Because then what happened to me is I found myself having resentment for like resenting myself because I was people pleasing. I didn't know that no was a complete sentence and I could use it. So I was just yes man to everything. Um, and at the end of the day, it ends up burnt out. You end up resentful for the people that you love because you haven't literally, I haven't expressed, let me not say you, I haven't expressed what it is I need from you or that I want from you or that I desire from a situation or whatever the case may be. And then now I'm getting upset because it wasn't fulfilled. Like that's on me. It's not on this person. And I would always project back then. So yeah, I would give him those insights and
Woo.
life would be so much smoother.
I love that because I know that somebody's gonna be listening to this and be like, "Oh wow, that it's gonna just hit them like, yes, it resonates with them." Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Whew. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. Do you have any last words you want to leave to the audience that's listening?
Let's see. I mean, this was a great conversation. I feel like the work that you're doing, Rose, and this platform, just to allow people to come on here is phenomenal. The one thing I'll say and I'll speak to my men out there. Actually, I'll speak to everyone out there. Right now, we are at a pivotal time in humankind. Um, this whole awakening, right? People are becoming woke and conscious. Like take it seriously. Like this is a time the earth is literally telling us what we need to do because we haven't done what we needed to do. The internal work, the masculine and feminine dynamics and balancing those things. The world is showing us like now is the time for us to get this stuff right. And so like I'll speak to us men, we have to do our work. Like it's being asked of us from our partners, from the feminine energy of the world. We've lived so long under this like patriarchal society. And honestly, things thrive when it's been matriarchal. If we look back into history, and I think a big shift is happening right now. And so for us brothers, like we need to be able to hold the space and hold a container for women to be fully expressed, for women to be their true authentic selves. And we need to be able to receive from them and also give to them and not be, who we've been these last couple of centuries and decades. So if I could say anything, just inviting the brothers to find a men's group, find another man or a therapist that you can confide in and speak to. And then the ladies just keep doing your work, keep doing what you're doing. We see you. Like I honor you all. It was just Mother's Day, so let me just plug all the moms. My former partner, Rose. You all are amazing human beings. You all are doing phenomenal things with our children and taking care of us, or like other kids in your lives. But yeah, that's what I'll say. I really appreciate the opportunity and looking forward to seeing your platform grow. Wishing you nothing but bliss, peace, love, abundance, prosperity. And so yeah, I'll end with that.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you so much because when I see you and you doing your men's work, and it's amazing what you put out there, what you give back to the community, just seeing a bunch of men just doing breath work. I don't see that often. you know,
Right.
and for you to showcase it and like normalize it, like this is normal. Breath work is,
Hmm.
well, I don't know, yeah, it's normal.
Yeah.
Like it's bringing it into the community now where like there's other things.
Hmm. There's other modalities.
Yes, there's other modalities.
There's so many things, so many tools that we have that don't cost money and we don't have to pay. And, we've been brainwashed to think that everything is outside of us. And I think now is the time that we should start looking within and utilizing what we can within to help our light shine even brighter because the forces are at bay and we won't go in there, but they are dimming our lights literally. And the way out is through, and the way through is by going inward. So
Oh, I love that. And do not be fooled by the pharmaceutical now that is claiming mind, body, and soul. Take this pill if you want to meditate and have less
go.
anxiety. And when I
Talk to
seen that,
me.
I was like, whoa, whoa, what?
I
There's a,
haven't even seen that, but that's
yeah.
crazy. That's
So they're
crazy.
using, the mind, body, and soul and people meditating and just like, just it's, it's wild.
That
So
is
be careful. You don't need any pharmaceutical
mhm.
to tap into this gift that we have.
To
You
your
know,
own breath, to
yes.
your own presence, right? Like one of the communities I'm a part of, one of the women in the community, she always says like society and capitalism is the way it is because it doesn't want us to rest. Like we go to work and we're always on the go because it doesn't want us to rest. Like when we rest, that's literally a form of revolution. And I'm quoting Tanya Lozano here in Chicago from Healthy Hood Chicago, but she literally says this every week. Capitalism, they don't want, when we meditate in our Sunday service, it's like that's a form of revolution. Why? Because all throughout the week, we're go, 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 go. People don't even have time to take 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever their practice may be with yourself is literally grounding you and allowing you to have the capacity to be and love and become more and do more and show up in a better place, and also to call out the things that are not going on right in the world. They want us distracted and busy so that we don't say anything about what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in the streets of Chicago. That's how they want us. So yeah, taking that time to self is important. And we all have the tools. Like it's
Ah,
just a breath. It's just a
yeah.
breath. And
It's
there's
just a
so much
breath.
power that's behind it. So
Yeah, I agree. And it's like the solitude. Can you be alone with yourself?
mm,
It's where healing begins is
hmm.
quiet, giving you the space to
Yes.
just breathe.
Yes.
And also, you let us before we started this podcast, you um let us a breath work to ground us, and it was so beautiful. I
Hmm.
love doing other people's breath work because I love seeing different people's style. And
Yeah.
I love the way you do it. It's like gentle, it's calming, it's amazing. So I cannot wait to see you grow, to see you shine, to see, 5 years, who you're gonna become in 5 years and 10 years from now. Change.
Thank you for
There's
that.
gonna be
Thank you for that.
we're making a change on this planet.
We are. We are. We
Yeah.
are.
So how can where can people find you?
Yeah, right now people can find me majority on Instagram. And my IG is OBA, which is king in Yoruba, Nigerian language. So OBA period Tokumbo. So the second half of my name. So TOKUNBO period TOKUNBO. You can find me on IG for coaching, finance, men's circles. And then I also like to have some fun on there, so you may see some funny stuff.
Yeah, I
But
love that.
yeah, my I don't know. I'm just this. You'll get the full authentic version of me online. So if it aligns, great. If it doesn't, I still love you anyways.
Yeah, I love that. I will also leave the link of his info down below in the description. And
Beautiful.
thank you so much. This was an honor, and thank you for, you know, sharing your time with me and
No,
to the audience that's going to be listening.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. I love the platform, love what you're doing. And again, wishing nothing but success and for this to be a sounding board for people in our communities, to come and have a conversation with you and just feel like they can just be at peace and be their true authentic selves, which I felt like I could, and just wishing that on all of the episodes to come forward.
Ooh, love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll connect and I'll leave his information for you guys. And thank you for tuning in. Bye.
Awesome.